Hello everyone, I am Abhay Sharma, and in this tutorial I am going to show you how I have created that flowing cube shaped lines on a curved path in my previous tutorial. I have created that element in Blender with the help of animation nodes, a super powerful add-on for Blender created by a super genius named Jacques Lucke. I thought it's a very interesting technique to show all of you guys, so here I am. This tutorial is not just for Blender users, but it's for Fusion users also, because they are already familiar with node based system, and because Fusion lacks procedural 3D modeling tools, they can leverage this node system to create and animate 3D objects procedurally and use alembic format to integrate it with Fusion. If you are a Cinema 4D user, you guys are so lucky to have MoGraph system. It is so good that every 3D software trying to implement this feature in one way or another. I use Maya and Blender. Recently, Maya 2017 has introduced a MoGraph-like system called Mesh. And in Blender, we have a free and powerful add-on called Animation Nodes, which is more than MoGraph. It is a visual programming and it is intimidating for new users for sure, but once you understand the basic concepts you can create anything procedurally. So let's get started. We will be creating random lines flowing through space, and we will be randomizing its position, scale, speed offset and materials, or any property which will help it to look more cool. So I'm going to open a new scene, change the layout to compositing. Now we need to download and install animation nodes first. So I'm going to search for the animation nodes in the Google and click on this GitHub link. Then download the zip file. Then go to the Blender, open user preferences, go to the add-ons and click on this button install from file. Locate your zip file and click on install. After that you need to activate this plugin, so go again in user preferences, add-ons, and search for animation nodes and check mark this box. You can save it if you want. Then go to the node editor and click on this icon. It will change the mode to animation nodes. Now let's create a new node tree. Alright, now I'm going to create a simple cylinder which can be created in Blender with standard curves, but I'm going to use animation nodes to generate it. So let's create a spline object output. Click on this plus button and activate splines. This node can generate multiple spline objects and expect a spline object list input. But I need to generate only one spline object, so I'm going to create a spline from points node and connect it to the splines input. It will automatically generate a list node for the splines. You can connect multiple spline objects to this list, but we just need one. Okay. Now in order to create a spline object, we need at least 2 points or locations in 3D space. We can use vectors for this because vectors are points in 3D space which holds x, y and z information. And we need at least 2 vectors. So I'm going to create a vector list. And let's connect it to the points. Now I'm going to change the z position of the second vector. You can see in the viewport we have created a spline object. Select this spline object and go to Curves tab in Properties window. Let's increase the depth value to make the curve renderable. Also let's increase the resolution to make it look a bit smoother. So basically we have created a long cylinder. Now I'm going to create a curve path where this cylinder will be deformed and move along. You can manually create the path curve with Bezier or Nerves curves, but I'm going to use another add-on which comes bundled with Blender. So go to the user preferences, add-ons and search for extra. Activate this add curve extra objects. Now if you go to the add curve menu, you can see we have this extra options for curves. I'm going to create a spiral curve. Let's choose torus. Tweak some of the settings to make it look however you want. Okay, now select the cylinder, go to modifiers tab and apply a curve modifier. Let's check the name of the curve. You can change the name for the sanitary reasons. Then select the spline object as your deformation object. Change the deformation axis to Z, and if I move this object in Z direction, you can see it's deforming along the curve. Okay, now I'm going to reset the Z position. Let's switch back to compositing layout. Let's change this window to outliner. Now I want to make duplicates of this cylinder, so I'm going to use a instance node and select this cylinder as our input object. Let's increase the number of instances. You can see in the viewport we have our duplicates, but they are not inheriting the deform information. For that you can turn on the copy full object option in instancer node, but we'll do that later. Let's talk about concept of looping in animation nodes first. So I have some programming experience in C++ and I'm very much familiar with the concept of looping, but still I have the difficulties understanding the concept of loops in animation nodes. I got it after some time, and after that it became so useful that I couldn't stop using it. Basically we use loops for any operation that has to be done on per object in a group or list or collection. Right now we have a group of 14 objects and they all have same position in 3D space. I want to randomize the position so each object is in slightly different position with each other. So let's do that. Move your cursor on the instancer node and hit the W key. Choose loop through objects. You can see it has created two nodes, invoke subprogram and loop input. Now to see the effect of this operation, we need to create a transform output node, because position, scale, rotation, stuff like that controlled by transform nodes. Turn on location XYZ. Now if I change the value, you can see it's affecting the position of all the duplicate objects. I want to affect the position of each object separately. So I will connect this index out to location, and it will automatically create a combined vector node, because index is a single channel value and location is a vector, a 3 channel value. In the viewport you can see that our cylinders have moved 1 grid units apart from each other, which is what index value is. It's a integer value, meaning a whole number. So I have thoroughly confused all of you. I apologize. I'm thinking about creating a tutorial series on basics of animation nodes. Let me know that if you want it in the comments, because I cannot explain these things in this tutorial because it will take forever. Okay, so moving on. I'm gonna turn on copy full object. Let's delete this node and create a random vector node. Connect the index to seed. Now every object is receiving a different seed number, which gives them different random position. Let's take a look. You can control the radius of this random effect with scale. Let's add a vector math node to control the positions separately, because I will animate the z value later on. Let's hide the original object. If you want to change the length of the spline, you can use this value. Alright. Now let's randomize this scaling. Turn on scale XYZ. I only want to randomize the scale in X and Y axis, not in Z. So first I have to separate these channels. So let's create a combined vector node. Connect that to the scale. If I change the value, you can see it's affecting the scaling. So I don't want to do anything with Z axis, so I'll leave it to 1. Let's create a random number node. Connect it to X and Y. Then connect the index to seed. Our scale has randomized. You can control randomization strength by manipulating these numbers. I'm gonna set the minimum to at least 0.1. Alright. When did I create this node? Just delete it. I'm gonna tweak a little bit. Now I want to animate the Z value, so let's separate these channels first. So let's not create a separate vector node, but a combined vector node. Got it? Connect it. And delete the separate node. Let's create the time info node, but this time I'm gonna use a shortcut Ctrl plus A key and search for it. Connect the frame to Z. If I scrub the timeline, you can see it's moving very fast. So let's add a math node to control the speed. You can use the divide operation or multiply operation. I like to use multiply, so I'll select that and change the multiplier to 0.1. Now it's acceptable. Let's take a closer look. Play the timeline by hitting the Alt plus A keyboard shortcut. Now you can see that every object is moving with same velocity. So let's randomize the velocity. Add a randomized node here. Let's combine these two nodes together. This time I'm gonna duplicate this math node by hitting Shift plus D key. Change the operation to add. Connect the seed to index. Now if I animate this property, I'll get different speed offset on each object. Let me see what is the actual value of this node right now. Hit the W key and choose debug. 11.8. Okay. Connect it and insert another math node here to reduce the value almost 10 times. Or we can use something like this. Okay, let's change the shape profile of these objects. So I'm gonna add a curve circle. Go to edit mode, hit the W key and choose subdivide. Then I will select these alternate vertices and then scale them to look like a rounded rectangle. You can create any shape you want, doesn't matter. Scale it down. Now select the actual spline object, target, go to curves object, and in the bevels object list select Bezier circle. Close the ends by selecting the fill cap option. It doesn't work here, maybe it's a bug in this version. Just turn down the end value and it will fill the caps. Alright, let's tweak some settings. I'm gonna change the number of instances to 100. Let's increase the radius a little bit. Let's make it a little longer. Take a look. Let's see how it looks like. Press the Shift plus Z key and it will turn on viewport interactive renderer. Change the render engine to cycles. So right now every object has same color. Let's try to randomize it. I'm gonna switch to materials mode. Select the target, go to materials tab and assign a new material. Now we can use the diffuse color, but right now it will affect all objects as a single unit. First let's add a hue saturation node. Now we need something which will give us the access to affect each object separately. For that we need to create an object info node. Then connect this random output to hue. And now if you change the color, you can see each object is receiving a different color. You can use other slots as well to create the look you want. I'm just giving you an example. Alright, let's increase the segments to make it look smoother. Select the spline object, go to curves tab and change the render U value to something like this. Let's refresh the renderer and it's smooth. Let's make the background a little bit brighter. So go to environments tab and use nodes. Change the color. This machine has no graphics card, so everything is happening on the CPU. That's why it is so slow. I know. I'm just testing the limits of this machine without graphics card. So that's the basic idea behind this technique. Let's try to change the instance value to something like 1000. Wow. Now the viewport performance has degraded significantly. This may be happening due to the lack of graphics card on this machine. I'm sure you can go much higher than this number if you have a decent graphics card. But it is still responsive, I can live with that. You can change execution settings in animation nodes to make it respond faster. Um, I'm gonna tweak some settings. Okay guys, that's all for this tutorial. I hope you liked it. If you liked it, then please subscribe, comment, share or like. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time.